campaign and what's been going on, especially specifically in Nevada. But just to recap where we've been, I mean, Elizabeth started this campaign a little bit over a year ago with the idea that I want to talk about ideas, right? Now, how about that for a change, right? That's one. Two is she wanted to make sure that we were taking the case directly to voters and just wanted to spend time talking to voters about ideas. Novel idea, right? And three, she decided that in order for her to do that the best way, the way she wanted to do it, was to spend zero time doing fundraising behind closed door meetings, call time. But what that meant was she was making a huge bet on people like you, that people like you who want big structural change, who feel like what we talk about matters, and that people actually are not just cynical and just thinking about how to get someone new in the office, but people want to bring change and changing not just who's sitting in that seat, but who else gets to be part of the conversation, right? So anytime she's out there and she's talking about this stuff, it's not just like who gets to be making decisions, but the decisions we're actually making along the way. And you guys are going to be a huge part of doing that. So looks like we're talking about electability now, right, before the break. So the electability part was a huge bet we made, that people care, people want to talk about universal child care, people want to talk about education, people want to talk about student loans, people want to have a real solution to solve the opioid crisis, people want to talk about healthcare, right? So as we're talking about it, I think focusing on the issues that people care about the most and finding out what it is that moves people, because these are things that I think affects everyone, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. And that is our electability model, right? Making the case, hope over fear, courage over cynicism. It's the change that we want to make. Elizabeth always says, the best way we do it is we talk to people about it, we organize around it, and we put the wind behind our own sails to make it happen. So thank you for doing that. That's incredibly important. And that's why, thank you, And that's why we made a huge bet on organizing in the beginning, because we knew that we're going to be outspent, we knew we were going to be outraised, we knew that there would be self-funders and billionaires in this race. So we invested heavily early, and everyone thought we were crazy for doing it, but I think you've seen we have a fantastic team here. I think it makes a huge difference. One thing a campaign and calendar doesn't get back, you can't grow it, is time, right? So the way we maximize it is we put organizers on the ground, we recruit volunteers early, we talk to voters, ask them, what do you care about? When we first started knocking, it wasn't asking people who, will you support Elizabeth Warren, who do you want to support? We're asking in the beginning, what are the issues that animate you? What are the issues that drive you to be excited? What are the issues that are going to get you to the polls and get other people out there? What do your neighbors care about? And you've seen over the course of the year, we have like 70 plans now, and a lot of that came from the fact that we were talking to voters and trying to figure out what it is that, how America's broken and how we can fix it. So the bet that we made was organizing early. We did that in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, obviously right here. But we've also done it in other states as well. Currently, we're in 31 states with about 1,100 staffers on the ground, primarily organizers who've been on the ground, probably some, obviously early states earlier, some in the summer, some in the fall, and they're out there making real relationships. They're out there having these conversations. They're out there already getting volunteers used to the tools that you guys are going to be trained on or already have been trained on. They're getting used to our terminology. So the idea is that we make these investments early, and then the shock of redeployment, each one of these campaigns will actually be run as a campaign on its own. So once Iowa's done, they're going to be redeployed somewhere else. But once they get there, they're going to have volunteers and leaders like you who already know the Warren way of campaigning. Like, that's actually makes sense. It's something that people should do all the time, but most campaigns haven't done that because they're scared of making that investment in organizing. Because they buy into this, belief that the only way to reach out to voters is TV ads and commercials. It just doesn't work. How many of you can even think of a single commercial from 2016, either Donald Trump's or Hillary Clinton's? Can anyone remember one? But can anyone here remember talking to a volunteer or a neighbor or an organizer about Hillary's campaign, right? Anyone? Yeah, that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference. These TV ads, I think people put them out there and they expect it's going to work, and guess what? The consultants who make them, who get paid for them, they tell you it works all the time. That's not a surprise. So we have a plan. We knew that the calendar was going to be stacked. We knew that Iowa matters.